Hello again from the Weekend Handyman. I am going to be bringing you the next update on the Scale F350 project. I haven't really got as much done as I would have liked to on this project. My electric revo kind of took up a lot of my time, and then I also ended up building a computer, so I was focused on that. And this project ended up kind of going to the back burner, I guess. But I still did get a few things done on it. But basically, I had been focusing on the chassis, getting that sort of squared away and somewhat more finalized, so I could actually have a rolling chassis to mock the body up on, which is where I'm going to have to focus a good deal of time to make that look really well. But let's see some things that I've done. Obviously, I went and I mounted the stock transmission from an SCX-10 in the middle here, but in more of a transfer case type setup, I guess. And that's so I can put the body on top of the chassis and actually have room for an interior, as opposed to just having to, say, have black windows. I could actually have an interior by laying the transmission down like that. And for gear reduction, I'm going to actually mount the motor up front here, and I'm going to be using one of these things, a gear reduction unit, which I'll be putting kind of like this with a motor attached to it like that, obviously. And then I'll have to run some sort of drive shaft setup from that to the transfer case. Other than that, I had painted the yellow springs black, because I think black looks better. And I made it so, they don't rub anything, where it actually works like it's supposed to. I had painted the links nice and black. They were silver before. And I spent a lot of time on the rear suspension, making it work smoother, more like it, an actual suspension. Before, everything was kind of roughly mocked up how I wanted it, and it was really kind of stiff. But a lot of that was just because it was mocked up and kind of rough. I went in and smoothed everything out that, needed smoothing. I painted all the little brackets, like my, shackles and my front spring mounts. I used, better nuts and better screws, so it actually stays together as opposed to falling apart all the time. And the biggest thing that really helped out were these little spacers in here. That's what really made it work like it's supposed to. I decided to actually stick with the 2 leaf springs on either side. I originally had planned to, say, remove the helper spring, but the problem when I did that was you'd push down the suspension, it wouldn't come back. There just wasn't enough strength to it. So I decided I was kind of forced to stick with the 2 on each side for the springs. What also took a lot of time, I suppose, were these drive shafts. That's because these are low-C mini crawler axles, but this is a SCX-10 transmission. And in order to make that work, I had to either use the low-C mini crawler drive shafts and adapt them to an SCX-10 transmission, or adapt the SCX-10 drive shafts to the low-C mini crawler axles. So what I ended up doing was the SCX-10 drive shafts adapted to the low-C mini crawler axles. Adapting the SCX-10 drive shaft to the low-C mini crawler axle with this low-C mini crawler yoke really wasn't that bad. Basically what I did is I just took the second half of the SCX-10 drive shaft and then cut a lot of the, I guess you call them feet off, and then grinding the inside out a little bit so I can slip the actual whole yoke part with like the U-joint part still attached, and just slip it right into the SCX-10 drive shaft, as you can see there. And then what I also did is I drilled out the hole on the side there, and actually put a pin through. And then there's epoxy in there as well. So that is not going to ever come out. It's not going to be a problem. It's never going to slip. It'll always be there. It's actually, you could say it's actually permanent now, and it actually looks like it's supposed to be that way, I suppose. I mean, except for the size difference, but I mean, it doesn't look like it's, you know, hacked together. So it actually worked out really well. And then all I have to do is, you know, slip that yoke onto the low semi-curl axle, put, you know, the little set screws in, and then I have a, you know, basically a fully functioning driveline, I suppose. Also, what I had done is I took and shaved all the unnecessary mounts and brackets that are molded onto the axles. On both front and rear axles, there's little plates to mount servos, and then there's the upper link mounts if you had, you know, a link type suspension. So I just took and shaved all that off on the front and the rear, because this looks more scaled to an actual axle. Obviously the same on the front. On the front, I did have to actually keep the upper link mount, but I plan on mounting the servo up here and then just running a link from the servo down to the axle for steering. So now my axles look more to scale with an actual axle. And that's about all I've done since my last update on this project. My next step from here is, I actually just realized that when I mounted this transmission like this, I actually put the screws in too deep, so it actually is locked up. The screws are protruding through into the inside of the transmission, into the gear, so it actually won't allow it to turn. So I'm going to have to take care of that, and then from there I'm going to then, you know, find the set screws for these drive shafts, get that squared away, and then I'm going to be mounting this gear reduction unit up front, and then obviously I have to get a motor, getting that squared away, and then I need to also make a front drag link so I can actually, you know, build a steering system, get a servo. I need to decide which servo I need to use. And then the chassis should be mostly done, and I could focus all my time on the body, which is what I really bring this project together, obviously. So that'll be it from this update on the Flatbed 50 project. Give the video a good thumb, I guess, and subscribe. Well, I'll see you later.